Bada bing, bada boo.
During the Olympics, if you ever watch the equestrian games, you're looking at a lot of science inside the horse. The horses are the science. They are fine-tuned like cars. I mean, they're basically Formula One cars, but alive and breathing, and that's, horsepower. They are genetically tested. They're bred to make sure that they are well-bred, that they're well fit for the games that they're entering. One lab testing that you can get done on a horse is for the speed gene. It's a very specific gene. If a horse has this specific gene, they are going to be more predisposed to develop what they call the fast twitch muscles. They're perfect for the sprint, but they're not going to be endurance horses. So the genes of a horse can even tell you if a horse is going to be predisposed to liking dirt or turf, which is very important. The lab says some clients will even have their horses tested as soon as they're born. Then they can just map out a plan for all of their individual horses, which trainer they're going to go see, which type of sport they're going to specialize in. And there's a lot of specialties. There's a lot of different ways you can look at a horse. I mean, obviously, I'm not just talking from like an ophthalmology standpoint. Let's start with English writing. You have dressage, often called horse ballet. It's how a rider is able to guide their horse through a complex movement performance. It's an Olympic sport. It's all about the grace, the control of the horse. If you are me and you are uncultured and you watch this on TV during the Olympics, it looks like the horse.
We did, didn't we?
Yes, it's doing like a little dalliance, like a little dance, like a little tippy toe dance. That's what it looks like. The horse is galloping in place. It looks like it's just skipping in place, which, side note, when they skip in place, the horse appears motionless at certain points, but that is exerting an enormous amount of energy on the horse because trotting in place defies the laws of motion for a horse.
Interesting.
It actually is like physically very difficult. They're probably sweating from trotting in place. And I'm just like, look at him. Look at the tippy toes. That's what it is. These horses have to train for like a minimum of 8 to 12 years to do the tippy toe dance.
Wow.
That's dressage. Then you head into show jumping. That's where the horses and the riders, they have to clear a course of obstacles. They look like fences without knocking them down. It's about speed. It's about clearing the rounds, although most of them look incredibly graceful, I will say. But with any equestrian event, there has to be a lot of trust and relationship established between the horse and the rider. Show jumping, with that being said, so elegant, so graceful, so beautiful. I could never do that. If you've never seen it, I'm just going to give you a visual in your head for the audio listeners. You know when you have the dog competitions and you have the dog like jumping through the obstacle courses? It's like that, but you're on the Australian Shepherd's back. But also, your outfit is great. It looks good. It looks artistic. I'm uncultured. It's the only way I can describe it. The third of the English disciplines is called eventing, where you do dressage, show jumping, cross country. Cross country is essentially American Ninja Warrior, but on a horse. You go through like a full outdoor obstacle course. You've got logs in ditches of water. You've got water features that complicate the horse, and horses get spooked very easily. So you have to make sure that they don't get spooked, and you get penalized for refusals. That's when the horse is like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. You get penalized for that. You get penalized for falling, obviously. Or, interestingly, you get penalized for going too fast or too slow. I didn't know that was a thing, but you have to be in the sweet spot of allotted time. You actually get penalized if you're faster than that allotted time. Every second faster than that little sweet spot time, you have a penalty.
Why is that?
I think that they're also trying to prevent reckless, dangerous acts on a horse. By going too fast, and it's about like the agility and the consistent speed instead of just like bursts of sprinting through. So they're looking for a lot of different things.
These sports, how much of that is the horse doing the sport versus the person on top of the horse?
Both. So there are really, really good riders, but the horses, that's why horse juice for reproduction is one of the most expensive liquids in the world. If you have a really well-bred stallion, if you have a really well-bred show horse, their specimen to procreate other horses can be very expensive to purchase. So it's all about the horse lineage and also the rider. Yeah. It's a mixture of both. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think the Western ones are a little bit more fun. So the Western riding disciplines and competitions, you've got reining. This is about the athletic prowess of the horse. So it's dressage, but kind of more rodeo level. I mean, it's all about how a horse can do a series of patterns, sliding stops, spins, flying lead changes. One Redditor says it primarily focused on moving your horse with very little hand movements. The focus is on using your seat and your legs almost exclusively to control this horse. And the energy is different. It appears that it's taking place inside like a dirt pit in a stadium. And I love horses. I think they're so majestic. I have an irrational fear of sustaining a brain injury on a horse, but other than that, I feel like they're smarter than me. However, when you watch this for the first time, all I can compare it to is like when your dog has the zoomies and they're zooming and they're like skidding to a stop and you're on top of the horse. That's what a lot of the Western competitions look like. And I'm sure it takes a lot of skill. And then you have, interestingly, I mean, you also have like the equestrian events that are more focused on the rider, about how the rider is able to control their horse. Then you have like the show horse events where it's really just about the horse itself and their breeding and their stance and all of that, as well as horse show performances. Cavalia. It's like Cirque du Soleil meets horses. Acrobats on a horse. I mean, these are just a few shows in sports that horses are the center of. And of course, sports like polo. I can't forget polo before everyone gets mad at me. This is a field that's 3 football fields long. Everyone is on a horse. These horses are like 1,000 pounds, even though they're called polo ponies. They're not ponies, they're massive horses. And the riders have to use these little mallets to hit and aim at this tiny white ball. Each polo pony is going like 30 miles per hour. All their tails have to be wrapped so that nobody's equipment or their tails don't get tangled with each other, causing injuries. It's a very dangerous sport. Most elite polo players have at least 10 polo ponies for one match. They swap through the ponies in one match because a few minutes of polo ponying, the pony is tired. And they have to fly these horses in from all over the parts of the world when they have a polo match. But here's an interesting detail. Sometimes the polo ponies are all the same. Not the same breed, not the same look, but genetic carbon copies, genetic clones of each other.
What do you mean?
They started cloning ponies.
Lab made.
Lab made. From some of the best polo ponies, they cloned them.
That's crazy.
There's one top player, and he's from Argentina, I believe, and he has 6 of the same exact pony, genetically speaking. They are clones. He has 6 clones. There's a lot of drama there. I mean, some people believe eventually polo is going to be a game of who can clone horses the best rather than who can play polo the best. Other people think it's becoming even more expensive to learn the sport of polo. There's a lot of drama, even who has the rights over each clone. There's so much drama there. There's a lot of scandals. It's a very complicated story where players are now saving genetic samples of their horse's skin in cryogenic storage chambers. The horse world is crazy.
Yeah.
It seems like each division of equestrian sports, the horse world, they've got their own fair share of scandals. And for Valitar, this is a horse show in California, they have a lot of scandals. The owners of the horse show Valitar are this wealthy couple. They're pretty conventionally attractive as well. It's kind of important later, but they're the Remleys. The Remleys look like your standard rich couple from San Diego. Mark Remley, the husband, he's a bit older. He looks very fit, but in a nerdy way. I don't know how to describe it. He looks fit in the way that Jeff Bezos looks fit. Like, you remember Jeff Bezos as a bald nerd, and then now he's like jacked and bald, but you can just tell it just doesn't sit normally with him. Like, he just doesn't move like he's always been fit his whole life.
Like genetically modified.
Exactly. Like, it just doesn't feel like, it just feels like a little weird. I don't know if that's the best look on him. Mark Remley looks fit the way Jeff Bezos looks fit. And then you have the wife, Tatiana Remley. And Tatiana, she's blonde. She's got a Sports Illustrated model cover body. And she's also the star of the Valitar horse show. She's an equestrian. She's a writer. They've invested over $20 million into the show. And they lose every single penny of it. I mean, the list of Valitar scandals goes on, but it includes horses get abandoned with nothing to eat, performers quit over massive creative differences over Tatiana. Later, the owners are known to be swingers at a club that a lot of celebrities attend. And this is not necessarily a scandal, but that was more of an interesting side quest. And former staffers will come out to say more or less, Tatiana doesn't even know how to ride a horse.
their horse show, what exactly do they do? Like which branch of the
It's like
division?
Cavalia. They are acrobats on horses. Cirque du Soleil meets horses.
So it's like performance.
Yes.
Not like a competition.
No.
I see.
And Tatiana doesn't even know how to ride a horse well. And you're supposed to be doing a handstand on a horse that's galloping around the atrium. But the biggest scandal to come out of Valatar has to be the decapitated horse head on the Remleys' marital bed. It's not real though, thank God, okay? I mean, it happened, but it's not a real horse head. It's a decapitated horse head from one of their very expensive horse statues that they have in their front lawn of their $5.5 million house in Del Mar, California. This is near San Diego. And it's clearly not a mistake. It's not like one of their housekeepers accidentally knocked over the statue while sweeping, and in a moment of panic, they placed the decapitated horse statue head on the couple's bed, changed their government name, ran off to a new state to start a new business. That is not the case here. This is a targeted message. This is a threat. And by the end of it, one of the Remleys, one of the founders of the Valatar Horse Show, will be dead. We would like to thank today's sponsors who made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the National Immigration Law Coalition. NILC is one of the leading advocacy organizations in the U.S. dedicated to advancing and defending the rights and opportunities of immigrants and their loved ones. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. A few disclaimers: there are mentions of potential CA, religious trauma, though very brief, and additionally, mental health and self-exit conversations. So please take care of yourself, and if this becomes too much, take a break, and we will see you in the next one. With that being said, let's get started. When it comes to the ultimate fantasy, the saying is, no two are the same, right? That doesn't apply. Everyone has similar fantasies and interests, apparently. You like watching your partner have intimate relations with somebody else in front of you? Yeah, so did Diddy, okay? Get in line for the chair. There's lots of people. Now, the usage of ropes, there's a whole community built on the art of tying rope on somebody. However, even if you have this super niche, specialized interest where you think there's nobody else that has the same fantasy as I do, they are ready, such as watching Lady Antoinette do the bounce on a champagne bottle. A historical figure from France do the bounce on a champagne bottle. If you have thought about that extensively at night and it keeps you up, you are not entirely alone. And there is someone here to make it happen for you. The Sanctum Club. This is the place where nothing legal is off the table. There are lots of places where you can go and watch your partner have intimate relations with someone else right in front of your face, but none of them are like the Sanctum Club. That's what all the Sanctum members will tell you. Sanctum Club is an elite sex club in Beverly Hills that has been called half pagan sex cult, half entertainment mogul after party sex club.
Wait, say that one more time. Half what?
Yeah, some people think it's like a pagan sex cult. It's like not super religious.
Oh.
Or it's a half entertainment mogul after party sex club. So where all the Hollywood directors go after the Oscars and they watch everybody do the bounce. Okay, that's like, which one is it? We don't know. It's
Is it
up
still
to you.
operating?
It is still operating with new owners.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, one of the members bought out the club. And they operate it. I did go on, I fell down a rabbit hole on Reddit. Some people say it's past its prime time. So there's lots of debates of which club. And I think they do a lot of more parties and events in New York. And then I went down the whole rabbit hole and they said, the best parties in New York are the ones that you need an invite to that nobody really knows the club name. Anyway. Okay, it's up to you to decide which is a more fitting description for a sanctum. You usually don't even know who's going to be in attendance beforehand. You have to give up your phone at the door. You have to sign an ironclad NDA before going in. The only reason that we even know about this club is, well, for how secretive they are, they've got a whole season of a reality show online readily available to watch, and we're going to get more into that later because Tatiana and Mark Remley are on the show.
Okay.
That plus a few writers and a few column writers, journalists were allowed inside and were able to describe the party without mentioning any specific guest. Each party is different. Each crowd of attendees is different. But for each party, you have a group of devotees. These are the performers that work for Sanctum. That's what they're called. They are the erotic theater performers. They're the show. Depending on the theme, their performance will differ. Sometimes it consists of them dressing up as bunnies and standing as still as possible as human furniture that you can grow. Other times, after a private dinner party, these devotees will climb on top of the dinner table and carry on with consumption of things that are not food.
What?
They're all eating each other, okay? They're all doing nasty to each other on the dinner table after the dinner party. I do think the health department might take issue with that, but it's not a restaurant establishment, it's a private party, so I guess perhaps it gets a pass. Sometimes the performance will include one of the devotees dressed up as Lady Antoinette, a historical figure, sitting on top of a coffee table doing ungodly, unspeakable things to a champagne bottle that hasn't been popped yet. And the only thing I can think of is that seems really dangerous.
Yeah.
Because at least you should empty it, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
But the most important part about Sanctum Club,
That's actually really alarming.
yeah, I know. And it was on the
Whoa.
reality show.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
What is on the reality show? The performances on the reality show?
Lots of stuff was on the reality show.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, lots of stuff. So, but the most important part about Sanctum Club is that your biggest fears, they tell you, the biggest fears that you have about an intimate club is not going to come true. What is the biggest fear? If you go on Reddit and you look up biggest fear about going to a sex club, an intimate club, everyone is going to be unhygienic and ugly. That's people's biggest fears. What if I go and I'm the hottest one in the room and I'm not even that hot? That's what people say on Reddit, okay? People attending the clubs are scared to go see, God forbid, ugly people. That's terrifying for them. Then the next fear is that everyone at the better clubs, right? Sometimes you go to an elite club and you're like, okay, well, surely the pool's gonna be better here. And then you go and you find really ugly, old, rich dudes and really hot young girls, and that's it. So there's lots of fears. With Sanctum Club, they say this doesn't happen because even the old, ugly, rich guys, they get vetted, and you can't be too old and you can't be too ugly. You can never be too rich though. With Sanctum Club, those that have attended say, you don't have to worry. I mean, first of all, the women outweigh the men in numbers most of the time, and they're all wearing like expensive bras that cost over $1,000 for one bra. High heels, everybody's fit, everybody's attractive, everybody's wearing a mask. It looks like Cirque du Soleil meets a Victoria's Secret fashion show. People refer to it as, quote, the most glamorous sex party I've ever been to. It's like the movies Eyes Wide Shut with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman.
Is it? Yeah. This is all legal?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Apparently, a lot of the devotees are not hired. Like, they're not paid for performing.
Oh.
So
wait.
I think there's like legal loopholes.
Oh, so, okay. I see.
Yeah. Which
So what is everyone doing there?
each other. Yeah.
Oh.
So you pay to get in, you pay to be a member. First of all, you need to buy membership, and that ranges from 30,000 a year to could be 100,000. And then you pay to get into each party.
That's crazy.
And then once you get in, I'm sure that there are concessions like free drinks and free food, but that's not really what people are there for. They're there to do other things. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the prices have changed. I think those were the prices at its height. If I'm not mistaken, on Reddit recently, they had a couple go in for like $1,000 for the couple. It's insane. Yes, it's insane. But they were not paying a whole salary a year
so
to be a member.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Former partygoers would argue. Damon, the original founder of Sanctum, he was so selective about who he let into the doors. It wasn't some cheap sex party where everybody brings a date and you automatically swap. There's a very big difference between a sex party and a Sanctum party. The founder, Damon, states, I have no desire for a swingers party here, but I do want to open dialogue about how we can come out of our fear of sexuality. So in order to enter, you must send a message on Facebook to Sanctum. At least that's how it started. Eventually they get so big, they have their own like curated submissions page. It's just very tedious to get an invite. There's no guarantee. To even pay to be a guest at one of the parties, you have to submit photos of yourself. You have to appear presentable. You have to answer questions such as, what turns you on the most? Now link all of your social media handles so we can vet you. You're supposed to be honest, but you can't help but feel like there's a right answer for every question. Like, what do you mean is the hottest thing I've done? I feel like this is, what do you mean? Now I feel like I'm answering an SAT test. You will be likely given an address to pick up your tickets. It's a lingerie shop in Hollywood. You walk in, you tell them what you're here for. The staff walk to the back and they come out with your invite on a silver platter. You have now wasted approximately 2 business days of energy to get this invite, but maybe it's worth it. And it's all on purpose. Damon, the founder, says, it's the opposite of what most club owners want. I absolutely did not want 500 people outside clamoring to get in. I love the puzzle of getting there. But it's deeper than that. It's more meaningful. It's our most basic human desires, but beautiful. The owner calls it, quote, spiritual and erotic utopia, where people of like minds and desires can have as much intimate deeds and romance as humanly possible in as many different ways as the imagination can invent. One former performer at the club says about the founder, he is like the modern day sex Jesus. I kind of feel like he sacrificed himself for the greater good of creating a culture for people that was needed, especially in a city like Los Angeles. I think that's why they call it like half pagan sex club, so. Esquire states about one party's guest list. Among those confirmed are a man who owns multiple hotels in New York City, a billionaire from Moscow, several wealthy couples who have been married for more than 20 years, the producer of a number of well-known television shows, an actress with a reputable IMDb page, the 21-year-old son of a movie producer, international models, and a couple opening a big new store near Rodeo Drive. According to Business Insider, they state that the alleged celebrity guests at events include Gwyneth Paltrow and, the founder of Goop. Yeah, and...
They just name dropped?
Yeah, but they said allegedly, and Business Insider said it, and they have a lot more money, so go sue them first, right? So...
What?
Even the devotees are handpicked with strict guidelines. It's not just about being physically hot. One woman was picked on the spot because, quote, one woman said to me, I want to perform at Sanctum. And then I want to become a politician and then get outed in a sex scandal so that I can point out the hypocrisy in society. And they said, you're in.
How do we know this? They just told the story? Okay.
They do private masquerades, erotic parties, erotic theater. And some of it is very, like, it's not just eyes wide shut. You know how everyone was talking about the Rothschilds parties where they hunt people, where they have like the animal masks on? They kind of recreate those. So you'll have very hot women with giant horse heads, very realistic ones that are not hot and not fun. They look very real. And then they'll have, like, Marie Antoinette was doing the deed with her horse, but that horse was a woman who dressed up as a horse with a very realistic horse head. Yeah. Sometimes it's elephant heads, and they'll try to stick elephant trunks in places where they probably shouldn't be stuck. They used to do a monthly masquerade in New York, and people will fly in from all over the world for these masquerades. Damon, the club owner, says that every Sanctum member has to pass an application process, run background checks. Basic memberships start at $30,000 a year, and they have Dominus members, which is $100,000 a year, and they will tailor bespoke erotic requests for you. And just because you have money doesn't mean you can become a top tier member. They only offer that level of membership to 20 people worldwide. And one of the main reasons that we actually know about Sanctum Club on a larger scale is because the founder took to Instagram previously to write, Hunter was a member of Sanctum and I canceled his membership after one party because he was a scumbag.
Who's
Hunter who?
Hunter Biden?
Which Sanctum's former founder, this is after he sold Sanctum. He went online and said Hunter Biden was a former member. Allegedly, this is what he said, not what I said, so don't sue me.
That is what?
Yeah.
Wow.
He says the only reason that he would go against his own former club's rules of not outing a member is, quote, posting what I did on my Instagram about Hunter Biden was me letting people know what type of behavior that he exhibited was something that upset me. I knew the consequences could be me not being part of Sanctum anymore, but I was willing to take that risk. Sanctum was bought out by a former member at this point, and they released a prompt statement. Sanctum is a private members club, and they prioritize safety and privacy of our esteemed members above all. Consequently, we neither confirm nor deny the identities of our attendees. Furthermore, we uphold a strict code of conduct, and any infringement leads to a lifetime ban. Please note that Mr. Lawner's membership has been revoked effective immediately.
The previous owner?
Yes, the founder.
When was this? Like, when was it bought out?
This was a few years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
This is recent. I'm assuming there are many of these clubs that exists then, right?
Yes. I mean, there's one in New York that's very famous on TikTok. It's called The Box. It's very different. So Sanctum is different in the sense of, like, it's an elite club where everyone is free to explore. The Box is like a bar business club in New York. but I believe there's a few in Europe that a lot of Americans like to try to get into. But I think the way that they're described is they're a bit like raunchier. They're a little bit more on the, don't ask me why I fell into this rabbit hole, but there's so many different variations of clubs. So some of the clubs, they're more on that raunchy shock value sex factor. This is where it's just all about shock. People say it's not even hot. It's just shocking because you'll just see someone have bodily fluids empty into a bucket and they're just like swinging it around in the club. It's sometimes unhygienic, just shocking, just what the is happening. And then you have maybe the clubs that are more sexually inclined but more artistic, maybe more so like a burlesque club. And then you have like the super hot clubs like strip clubs. And then you have sex clubs, which are different because you're free to have intimate relations in the establishment or at the party venue. They'll even have beds usually and different types of furniture. And it's set up so that you're encouraged to join in the activity. Most of these clubs in New York, like these public establishments when you're of age, they're not encouraging you to do anything. In fact, you could probably get arrested.
Okay.
It's just like that's the entertainment. That's the show.
I see.
But Sanctum, there's a show and there's an interactive element.
Okay.
And then there are clubs where there are no shows. Lots in Vegas where there's tons of rooms with tons of mattresses and beds that I think you should probably like do a blue light or a black light, whatever, black light on. And they're like swingers clubs. So there's no show, but lots of like-minded people gather and they will do things with each other. So it's like Sanctum without the show.
Right. Okay. I see. That makes sense.
So there's like lots of different variations.
Yep.
And there are an alarming amount of girls on Reddit that were invited to one of these establishments by their boyfriend, and they were not specified on which kind of establishment that they were invited to because they all thought they were going to be like the Box in New York. And then they end up in like a Las Vegas swingers club. So just be very careful.
That's alarming.
Yeah, and there's also lots of Reddit posts of people who have gone to different establishments and had fantastic times, phenomenal times, best times of their lives. Some people write about how it saved their marriage, which I don't know, right? But there are also people who say, just beware of something that no one tells you about. There will be very specific smells that you will never be able to unsmell. No matter how high-end a place is, no matter how hygienic a place is, when you have that many people and you have that many bodily fluids and you have that many activities taking place in a closed space, there will be smells and you will get a whiff of that smell and you will never forget it.
In a bad way.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Even one of the journalists that went to the Sanctum Club, one of the parties, says everything was so high-end, so beautiful. Every woman felt like a supermodel. Everybody was hot. Even the guys were hot, and they're all dressed to the nines with these fancy masks. It's a masquerade party. But then they went into the bathroom to fix their lipstick, and someone had just taken a number 2 because money can't buy your way out of digestive issues. So it was very smelly in that one bathroom. That's all they said.
Okay, but that's a different...
Yeah, that's a very different story.
Just like a bathroom smell, yeah.
But there's just scents involved in everywhere. That's what they say. But Sanctum has had its own share of lots of scandals. There was a former member of Sanctum that left, and they accused Sanctum of admitting a performer who had an active STD. That became a whole scandal. But the worst scandal to come out of Sanctum Club, the worst thing, I don't even think you could call it a scandal, is when one member of the Sanctum Club tried to have another member killed. Cavalia is what you would consider an equestrian fantasy. This is the horse show. This is completely unrelated to Sanctum Club. Cavalia, it's Cirque du Soleil meets the horse shows. It's like a blend of horseback riding and doing flips. And it's so much about the horses. The performance is built around the idea that the horses are the main show. Humans are the side plots. So you see this stage and it's enormous. There's water tanks that they have to fill to look like a beach almost. And the horses are galloping through the sand and the water. And there's acrobats flying in the air. There's tight ropes. There's acrobats doing handstands on the horses as they're galloping. One performance, dangerous, one of the most dangerous performances really of Cavalia, includes a rider standing with one foot on one horse, another foot on the other horse, while the horses weave patterns and jump obstacles. There's very little margin for error. And, you have to know a horse really well. These types of performers say you have to be able to see when a horse's ear flicks just a little bit. Because even like a little ear flick of the horse, maybe they're getting spooked by something. Maybe they're agitated. Maybe something is uncomfortable in their hoof, like their little hoof. During its peak, Cavalia was bringing in $40 million a year, but they have since filed for bankruptcy, citing that they are close to $30 million in debt. But that was, that's recent in this year. A few years ago, they were at its peak. That's when Tatiana and Mark Remley decide that they're going to take Cavalia down. They want to compete with Cavalia and make their own horse show, but better and probably hotter. Tatiana, with her blonde hair slightly covering her face, she tells a local reporter in San Diego who's reporting on this, just like this massive red tent, and they find out it's called Valitar, the new horse show that's coming into business soon. She says, when I was around 14, I went to a Russian Kazakh circus. It's different than your regular circuses in the US. It's just stunning. A lot of amazing riding with a rider going under the horse, under the belly at a, fast gallop, just edge of your seat suspension, just intensity. And it hit me. It was just this desire started going into me to want to create a show that's different from anything that's ever been created. I'm so excited. This is my dream come true, and I want to bring this magic to the lives of everyone that will allow me to bring it to them. A lot of people love horses and can't have them, and so by coming here, they live this dream and they can touch them and come close to them and see them and experience the magic.
What year was this?
This was early. This was I believe they closed down in 2019.
How long did they run it for? Like a few years?
2 shows, 4 shows.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was in production for a really long time, but actively in business, and you could go watch their horse show, 4 shows.
Okay.
The opus of Valitar lies in this gargantuan red tent in the middle of Del Mar, California. It looks like a giant red circus tent for a state fair, but massively bigger. There are also 4 small tents connected to the big one. Collectively, under this tent, it's 45,000 square feet.
Damn.
It's a huge tent. That's bigger than a neighborhood suburban shopping center fit inside of this giant red weatherproof tent held up by this massive steel structure. The tent alone costs over $2.1 million. The plan is this. Mark Remley is a tech entrepreneur. We like some of his software. What the f does he know about horses? Nothing. Mark Remley knows nothing about horses.
The husband.
Yeah. Tatiana, the wife, Tatiana Remley, has been riding horses ever since she was a kid. But is she an equestrian? Is she the best horse rider? Probably not.
You say he's a tech founder? Is he really loaded, like a billionaire?
No, he's worth about $30 million. He's not a billionaire. His tech corporation was Signal Corp, unrelated to Signal messaging app, but they were a defense contractor.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. I guess we don't like some of his software. But anyway, Tatiana has been riding horses ever since she was a kid. And she thinks, I got it. I'm going to do Valitar. I'm going to plan the show. We're going to fly in all of these writers, all of these directors, producers, performers from all over the country and be a part of this exciting mission. You want to see someone do a headstand on a moving horse? You got to come to Valitar. Or you could go to Cavalia, that's 20 minutes away, but no, come to Valitar. It's better, it's newer, and Tatiana is going to be the face of it. There are billboards put up all over Southern California and randomly in seemingly bizarre places in the West Coast where Valitar is not even present, like Seattle. We'll get there. The billboard shows these 2 edited stallions, black stallions with their manes in the air. And they're facing in opposite directions. And then Tatiana is in the middle holding a stick. It kind of looks like an AI-generated medieval times type of poster or like a strip club billboard. That's what most people describe it as. The marketing feels a bit seductive. I don't know if this is a family-friendly horse show. I don't know what this is, really. But after bringing in a team of producers, directors, they put together this choreographed performance that's ready to go. They have to get housing for all the performers. They have to feed the horses, insurance, a parking lot, administrative work, HR. They got to spend over $20 million on this project. But once they launch in November, they have this whole plan. November and December, they're going to have 45 shows in 2 months. The launch party, the most important night for everybody. The launch party is what sets the tone for the rest of the performances. If I go to a launch party, I'm expecting it to be the vision, the essence of the entire company's mission in one night of good food and hopefully a free drink or two because networking is incredibly awkward. Tatiana, I don't know what's happening here. She's holding a belt in one hand. The rest of the belt is tied around her husband Mark's neck, and she's leading him around like a dog. I don't even think you lead a horse around like that, so I didn't understand the marketing vision. But the whole launch party, she's just like walking him around like a dog. Okay,
So he's supposed to be like a horse that she's like walking around? Is that what it is?
I don't even think they thought that far. I don't even think it's cohesive marketing. I think that's just what they're into. And everyone was just confused by what's going on.
Okay.
And there are just full forums about lessons that you are not prepared for until you start your own business. And then you just kind of learn it the shitty way. Like the cheapest client is the most expensive client. I don't know what that means, but a lot of business owners were sounding off in the comments like, exactly.
The cheapest client?
Is the most expensive client.
That makes sense. Okay.
I guess your cheapest client is going to cost you the most money or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
But when you start a business with horses, probably the biggest alarming red flag you'll learn as a business owner is when the horses start going missing. Something is very wrong. One producer of the show Valatar, let's call her Emma, she invested over $25,000 of her own money into Valatar. She moved here with her horses. And after 2 performances, Valatar had 2 performances, opening night and the second performance. There's just a lot that could have been done better. They gather all the performers, producers, directors, all the staff in the massive tent. Maybe not the horses. And I imagine there's this very uplifting, motivating, but realistic conversation of like, let's take a few days off. Let's get some rest. Let's recoup. We did good, but we can do better. You know, let's think about all the ways that we can fix these little things. You know, we had one customer who said this, another person did this. Obviously, this was a big, massive failure because we had a line of complaints like this. The shows themselves weren't necessarily horrendous, but the turnout was a lot slower than expected. Way slower. A lot of empty seats. I mean, it just made it an uncomfortable opening night. But also, there were just awkward moments in the show they can fix. Nevertheless, everybody gets a few days off, except Emma. She comes back because she's got to feed the horses. The horses don't know what an off day is. They need to eat. And when she goes to the stables, a good chunk of the horses are gone. They're missing. And they're all the Remley couple's personal horses. It's weird, but Tatiana is always doing weird things. Emma doesn't even think anything of it. She leaves and then comes back that night to check up on the horses again. And pretty much all the Remley horses are gone. Okay. And so she's asking around, and one of the other staffers, who's not really part of the performance, but maybe more so keeping the grounds, they're like, oh yeah, the Remley said something about how they were going to do a photo shoot, so they took all the horses for the photo shoot. Emma checks in the back. They didn't just take the horses. They took their harnesses, their tacks. The cabinets were filled with medicine for the horses. All gone. Emma starts freaking out. She tries to calling the Remleys to figure out what's going on, if they know that their horses are missing. And when she gets a response, it's very cold, as if they didn't just spend the past few months of their lives completely intertwined trying to plan this entirely new horse show. She gets a response. The show is being canceled due to poor ticket sales.
This is after $20 million invested?
Yes.
That is bizarre.
That's just it. The Remleys don't come back. They take their horses. They leave everybody else's horses, the giant red circus tent. They just leave 26 horses, 21 performers, 5 kids, 1 dog, and 1 cat completely stranded. Nobody was paid. Nobody has money to transport themselves, let alone a horse, safely back to their home. Wow. Nobody even has money to feed the horses because that was supposed to be included. Everyone, for a lack of better words, they were just left to starve.
Dang.
So what the hell went wrong? A competitive horse rider who was brought in to help direct the show says, yeah, well, the Remleys had no idea what they were doing about anything. Which is pretty accurate. Cavalia, the experienced horse show, just 23 miles away. Why would anyone go to Valatar? But even though they have no clue what they're doing, the director says, it quickly became the Mark and Tatiana show. Except neither of them are horse people, and neither of them are show people. So what are we doing? They have no clue what they're doing, and that is going to lead them to leave a huge group of people and the rest of the San Diego community who now has to pick up, and they're all volunteering to try and feed the horses and get everybody back home because Del Mar, California is a pretty tight-knit community. They are angry at the Remleys, and they want the Remleys to pay their dues, which ultimately ends with a decapitated horse statue head ending up in the Remley family bed. And when they have that many enemies, it's really hard to say who's after Mark and Tatiana. Everybody is left high and dry at the Valatar horse show. The horses are left, the performers are left. That's not even figurative. This is like real. The horses are left to starve. One of the biggest problems with the show that a lot of people say in hindsight is that Tatiana sucks at riding horses. And that's mean, right? She's fine. She's mediocre. But she has nowhere near the riding ability that seasoned professionals have. You cannot compare a weekend golfer to someone at the PGA. But Mark and Tatiana want her to be the star of the show, and everybody else has to accommodate her, even if that means they have to lower their skills to make sure that she shines the hardest. I mean, to give you a little bit more context on Tatiana's capabilities, she would often just go out there. So they had 2 shows. Her face is plastered all over the billboards. If I buy a ticket to Valatar, what am I expecting? When this blonde woman comes out on a horse, I'm expecting a somersault in the air, land on a horse, and then do a headstand, eat your lunch off your feet. Like, I'm expecting some sort of, holy cow, this is the most climactic part of this entire performance. This was worth all this money that I could have used for, I don't know, bills, but instead a horse show. Like, I'm getting something out of this, right? She would just come out on her horse and do a few figure eights. Not on the horse. Like, she's not doing figure eights on the horse. She's just riding the horse like a normal person, and the horse is doing figure eights. It's not like she's walking. Like, the horse is just trotting in a figure eight, and the whole thing is awkward because everybody in the crowd, the customers, they're sitting at the edge of their seat. They're holding their breath. The music is getting more climactic. They're expecting something insane, but then she just disappears. It's said by people who went to the first 2 performances, nobody even knew how to respond. So they were just all looking at the person that they came with, like, what? And clapping, like, what's happening? This caused so much tension that a lot of the seasoned professionals that would have performed to bring in the viewers, they all end up leaving. There are allegations that the couples they also just spent money that didn't make any sense. Some people said that they were willing to spend unreasonable amounts of money on billboard advertisements with Tatiana's face everywhere. They were willing to spend money on Tatiana's costumes, but then when a horse would get injured, they would cheapen out.
So they're trying to do this thing for all the wrong reasons.
Yes.
Like, she want to be like a celebrity horse rider.
Yeah. I don't even think she wants to be a celebrity horse rider. A mutual friend of theirs would later come out and say her goal in life was to be a housewife, but not the housewife you're thinking. One of the housewives of a major city on the Bravo TV network. Oh, Housewives of Orange County.
Real Housewife.
Yeah, the Real Housewives of Beverly
crazy.
Hills. That was her goal. Yeah.
And she spent $20 million.
Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be a cheaper way.
I feel like you could have paid, I don't know who is it still the Cohen guy? You could have paid, I feel like bribery could have been a good answer for that one. Yeah. Someone in the Bravo TV network, I think you could have bribed them for way less than $20 million.
Yeah.
No offense.
That's crazy.
Yeah. In another instance, this is very dumb, but apparently Tatiana just shows up one day with a new horse and just casually mentions, oh, I got a new horse. Okay, these are horse people. They know horses. And there really is no price, no value that you can put on a majestic horse's life. But you can, because that is a $30,000 horse. You can. That's a $30,000 horse. They ask her how much she paid for it. $70,000. Again, you can't put a price on life. You can't put a price on a horse, but that's a $30,000 horse.
She got scammed?
Yes, she got scammed $40,000 more. A mutual friend who witnessed this later says the asking price for the horse at the time was $30,000. So she managed to spend $40,000 more than the asking price just because she decided she wanted that horse and someone saw sucker written on her face, I guess. That was their quote, not mine.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's be real, starting something new it's not just hard. It is terrifying. And when you're launching a business, that fear, I think, gets amplified about 1,000 times. You're putting yourself out there, you're investing your time and money, and you hope that people are going to believe in what you believe and what you're building. And that's exactly why having a partner like Shopify makes all the difference. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. This includes iconic brands like Aloe Yoga, Rare Beauty, Chamberlain Coffee. When my husband and I opened Grandpa Mingo's art studio selling his grandfather's limited edition paintings, some of our favorite Shopify features were the ones that we didn't even know that we needed. The marketing tools alone are incredible. You can create email campaigns, social media content that looks like you have an entire marketing team behind you, reaching your customers wherever they're scrolling through Instagram or browsing online. It is time to turn those what ifs into sales with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/rotten. Go to shopify.com/rotten. That's shopify.com/rotten. After the fall of Valatar, the Remleys come home one day, and one of the valuable horse statues in the house is left decapitated on their bed. Like I said, it's a threat. At this point, Mark and Tatiana, they have a lot of enemies, a lot of people who hate them.
So someone broke into their house? One of the...
Yes, forced their way in.
Forced their way in.
And Tatiana claims she knows exactly who did this. She knows exactly who's behind it. It's none other than her own husband, Mark Remley. I think stereotypes are inherently really bad, but one could argue that Mark and Tatiana don't really care. They kind of fit it. Everyone around them knew it. Mark is rich, worth close to $30 million. Tatiana is very hot. I would say out of couples I've seen in Southern California, there isn't even a massive discrepancy in appearance between the two. Both of them are conventionally attractive. They seemed like they would hit it off.
How old are they?
He's probably like in his 50s. She's probably in her 30s at this point.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
To 40s.
40s?
Yeah.
Okay.
They meet at a Starbucks, a chance meeting. Mark falls in love, marries Tatiana, moves her into his $5.5 million house, and now they're on a reality show called Naked Sanctum. It's all about the Sanctum Sex Club. It's a whole season, a documentary following the founder, Damon. He goes around and it shows him preparing for these sexual erotic events while his entire family life falls apart. It's like riveting and depressing at the same time. The minute things start getting hot, if you will, in the documentary, it cuts to him being like, yeah, so my daughters won't talk to me anymore because they're getting bullied at school because someone found out about my job on Instagram and yeah, they're bullying them. And I'm like, oh, that's not the right time to put that part in. And then it cuts to him having like a 3-person intimate party with 2 young girls women of age in his bedroom. And then it's just like a monologue. It cuts to him sitting there being like, I miss my ex-wife.
What?
I think she was my soulmate, but she left me because I chose this life and she didn't. And then it just like cuts to like moaning noises, Marie Antoinette with a champagne bottle. And then it cuts to him being like, I'm actually really lonely. So I'm like, okay,
What?
I don't know how to feel. Damon is a very
Was this
interesting
like
guy. Yeah.
on like a main, like a network or on TV?
I think you can watch it on streaming platforms right now. And there's a lot. Damon is a very interesting guy. He says he has a lot of knowledge of the human intimate experience now just from running Sanctum. He says, you know, a lot of husbands, they bring their wives and watching their wives interact and have intense intimate relations with another person in front of them is hot. Basically, he's talking about cucks. He says the guys I've talked to directly about it say they get turned on seeing their partner turned on. They genuinely don't have jealousy or fear. They know that the woman's coming home with them. They know that. They're not worried, and they really like to see their partner get pleasure from somebody else. That just turns them on. Also, of course, they're with another woman, so they have freedom too. So I'm like, okay, maybe they're swingers. Even for a couple that don't do anything, you know, a guy sees other guys hitting on his wife, and he's like, oh yeah, I forgot my wife is hot. I forgot how hot she is. Or like, you know, the same thing in the other direction. It was healthy for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people told me it saved their marriage. But obviously, it's not just a great therapeutic experience for married couples. He mentions one time there was this very famous actress who came into an open room just having intense intimate relations with her husband and another guy. And he says, I could tell she was on too much Xanax or something. And it was like it was not good. We had to break it up. Because it seemed like she was not in her right mind. Which I believe now that he's left Sanctum, if you're interested in following his life ever, he owns a restaurant bar on Sunset Boulevard in LA called Puzzle. It's kind of like Sanctum. There's dancers, but it's a dinner and you can't have full-blown intimate relations. But one review from someone, I don't think they realized the environment they were getting into. The review reads, we went to Puzzle last weekend for my birthday. We went to the restaurant and the lady who was attending to us, first of all, was clueless. It was a tiny place, barely 10 tables. Music was no good. The singers were singing and dancing literally on top of our heads. The dancing lady did nothing but take off her clothes with the music and stayed almost naked the whole time. I was confused. Yeah. But in the reality show that aired a few years back, there's a very specific couple on there. A couple shows up under the pseudonyms of Vladimir and his wife, Ilyana. But they get invited to this exclusive, so Damon is holding a private dinner at his house in the Hollywood Hills, I believe very close to the Playboy Mansion, which would also make it very close to Sean Diddy Combs' house. Here we are again, right? But they will eat, they will watch each other eat, and they will eat... and they will eat other things and watch each other eat other things and then repeat. And not all the steps are obviously involving food. But Vladimir and his wife are seated at the table. These are pseudonyms. It's not Vladimir and Ilyana. It's Mark Remley and Tatiana Remley just sitting there in the flesh, okay? Mark Remley says, what Damon has created here is an opportunity for people to open their minds. Tatiana is just staring lovingly at her husband as if he just discovered quantum physics. She's like nodding, and then she chimes in. I'm all about pushing limits, and we're going to follow Sanctum, and we're going to go where it goes, and just pursue it, and enjoy it, and life, and pursue ourselves, and our love, and our romance, and our sexuality. And I had zero clue what that meant. And once most of the meal is over with, all prepared by this personal chef that had a Michelin star restaurant, I believe, a violinist walks down the steps of the mansion. And in walk two girls wearing bunny masks, and they're naked. One has the word touch written on her chest. The other one has eat me written on her chest. So it's very like, the directions are pretty clear. They're climbing onto the table. They just start making out before heading into the final act where they're just both like laying on the dinner table doing things. The violinist later says they're showing all of this in the show. You don't like, you see lots of nudity, but you don't see explicit, but like you see where the placement of body parts are. Right, you infer. Right, okay. Obviously, you know, the violinist is standing there and she says, I was just trying to focus on playing the violin really well, which obviously takes a little bit of focus. And then it just like cuts to her playing the violin and her eyes are just staring at the two girls on the dinner table. And I'm like, what am I watching? Then another girl comes in with a maid costume with the cake. The two original girls, somehow there's like giant carrots put inside the cake. They take out the carrots. You know what they do with carrots. And then they're like, there's icing everywhere. And then at one point, Tatiana gets up on the table and starts eating a bunny meal. Like with one of the girls, you were saying? Yes, and Mark Remley is just admiring his wife visually and physically, and the camera is like behind her, and he's like lifting up her skirt. I don't know. And then she finally gets up and she jokes, I think I look guilty. And he says, you do. The proof is on your mouth, because she has icing on her mouth now. Then it just cuts to them sitting together outside, and Mark Remley says, the entertainment is bar none. And Tatiana looks really serious, as if she is witnessing a profound, enlightening moment. Beautiful. She's like interjecting, beautiful. He says, the quality of the performers, you know, the sexuality that they exude, it just gets you off. It gets you going. It really does. Tatiana says, the bunnies were beautiful. They're sensuous. There's something enticing about their energy, and it draws me to them. I cannot stop myself. Like all the taboos of this world, everything just dissolves in their energy. And then it cuts to one of the bunnies coming over to hug Tatiana, and Mark is just watching as they just start getting unclothed, and we see Tatiana unclothed, and they just start doing a lot of things. And Mark Remley tells the viewers, you know, sex is probably the biggest part of our lives. Yes. Tatiana's gonna say yes. Sex is the center of our universe, and everything we derive around it, and it revolves around it. And in the beginning of our relationship, we weren't into this lifestyle. But as time grew on and our sexuality grew together, and Sanctum made it all that much more amazing. Mark continues, I'm kind of like an adrenaline junkie, actually. You know, I love to take risks and I love to live life on the edge. I'm drawn to things that push the limits. Tatiana looks at him, and we live life to the fullest every moment we can. I think people have a hard time in this environment, in this country, in this day and time, embracing their sexuality and embracing, you know, being all that you can be. I think they want to embrace it, but they're scared. It's magical. It's amazing. You feel incredible. You feel real. Mark and Tatiana, like I said, Vladimir and Ilyana are their pseudonyms. These are the owners of the failed Valatar horse show.
Do you know if this is before or after or just happening at the same time?
Happening seems like at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. And the founder of Sanctum is asked about the couple. Because, you know, he saw them and then, you know, they make news later. And he says they seem to be really happy with what was going on. They seemed really happy with each other and really excited about the experience. I mean, they seemed really into it. It's just that the wife, Tatiana, didn't really seem like an authentic character to me. She seemed a little bit fake. You know, I've been doing this a while and I've been dealing with people like this a long time, and I have a pretty good sense of character at this point. There was something off about her, for sure, but I don't think he saw it. I think he was in love with her. I think he really cared for her. Whatever she was pulling, I don't think he was aware of it. So he's just saying, like, the way she's describing, like, it was beautiful, it was magical. So unfortunately, I couldn't really find the exact episode that they were featured in. So just to be thorough, I watched the whole season, even though they showed up in like episode 3. I don't know why I did that, but I thought they would show up again. I don't know. But all the other very wealthy couples that go on there, they're very blunt about the experience. They're like, yeah, it's hot. Like, it's hot. We do it. It gets us going. And then we're hotter to each other and we like it. It's hot. But then when you see Tatiana, it's very like ethereal and spiritual. And it's like this moment.
Yeah.
When all the other couples are like, I just like looking at hot people do hot things and it makes my husband and wife hotter to me. That was about it. So I think that's what he's insinuating. It just felt, and it did feel performative in the sense of like, you do meet some people who are very into like tantric experiences where they think and they genuinely feel it's like an awakening as they're doing certain things with their partner. And it's like this connection that transcends above all in this very physical moment. But that was not the vibe that she was giving.
She's just performative, like doing a lot. Okay.
Yeah. A former business partner of Mark's that also knew Tatiana says, I mean, at one point, Mark was just calling him nonstop. Like he's explaining, he's just calling me nonstop.
What does that mean?
So he used to work with Mark. They had multiple failed business deals. They're not really besties anymore. There's no reason for them to be calling each other. They don't really have a friendship outside of that. But Mark keeps calling him and is like, come to San Diego. Let's hang out. And he's like, what are we going to do? Hang out? Like, are you trying to get me into another business venture that's going to fail? And he's like, no, let's just hang out. He's like, I don't know why you keep saying hang out. We're not really friends. He says, quote, eventually I got sick of dealing with Mark and I stopped returning his phone calls. A month later, maybe 2 months later, a mutual friend of ours was at my place and we were just talking about it. And I just brought it up, like this weird thing, like, why was Mark Remley bothering me? And he immediately knew the answer. And he just said, oh, Tatiana wants to sleep with you while he watches.
Damn.
So apparently they were trying to get me to come down there and have sex with Tatiana while Mark watched for whatever reason. We never did get the answer if he went or not. But here's a very odd detail on the show. They go as Vladimir and Ilyana, which seems like a random choice of pseudonyms for the show. And there is a speculation of a intense interest in Russian culture and Russian aesthetics. And no one really knows if Tatiana is even Russian because we don't think Tatiana is her real name. We'll get to it. But it's not random. Tatiana has allegedly stated in the past that she was essayed by her brother. Now, the people she told about this, she told them that her brother's name was Vladimir.
Okay.
So why would you choose a pseudonym for your husband that is, first of all, your brother? Even if he didn't assault you, that's a very odd choice.
Right. Or like that's not even her brother's name, right?
Yeah. So it's just all
weird connection.
weird.
Yeah. Very off.
And the mutual friend said, there's something wrong with her. It's a really weird thing to do. I mean, 100% I know that Mark didn't pick the name. That was her idea. Mark's not even that creative to come up with a pseudonym like that. So I'm sure she picked it. And why would she pick that name if that's who molested her brother? Even if he didn't molest her, just her brother's name? Really bizarre. Friends say their relationship was just getting toxic. They had a much healthier relationship in the beginning, aside from the colossal financial failure that was Valatar. At least they were both business oriented. They're always working on something. Is it the best thing in the world? No. Is it something that's going to run them into bankruptcy? Perhaps, but it's something. Eventually, their entire relationship just revolves around sleeping with different people. The Del Mar Fire Department get a phone call. A residential home is on fire. The entire house is up in flames, and it's a big one. It's $5.5 million of the house burning to the ground. Firefighters get to the scene, put out the fire before it can start spreading. But it's just weird. You can tell that this is not a normally occurring fire. This doesn't even seem like an accident. And yes, we are in Southern California, but this doesn't make sense. The bomb and arson unit of the Del Mar Fire Department start investigating the cause of the fire. And the first persons of interest are going to be whoever is at the scene of the crime. That makes sense. And they find 2 women. One of them, interestingly, has 3 guns with her and a ton of ammunition. I mean, technically, she does have every right to be there, though, kind of, because it's the house that she shares with Mark. What the hell is Tatiana Remley doing there with guns and ammunition when the house is burning down? Some people just have a lot more targets on their back than others. Some people could go the rest of their lives and no one wants to harm them. And then you have someone like Mark Remley, co-founder of Signal Corp, tech company that lives off of DoD, Department of Defense contracts. They operate, execute large-scale federal IT projects, primarily dealing with high-end government contracts. He was almost a VP there for 20 years, executive VP, chief information officer. The company had an annual sales at its peak surpassing $600 million from the government. I was going to make a smart remark, but I won't. Eventually, he retires. Mark Remley inherits close to $26 million. And that seems to be a mix from his work at Signal when he exits and from his parents passing. So they're all wealthy. And that's when he meets Tatiana at Starbucks. And it's not the worst of the book tropes, but it does feel like something that only happens in a modern contemporary romance in the category of rom-com that doesn't take itself too seriously. That's the vibe it gives. They get married and suddenly Tatiana has a $218,000 engagement ring the first year that they're married, because now Tatiana has to fit into this higher upper class life. He buys her $200,000 worth of clothes.
Damn.
Yeah.
$200,000?
Yeah.
Worth of clothes?
Worth of clothes.
Okay.
And I saw the clothes.
Okay. It's just designer on designer on
it's
designer.
Just not a lot of clothes though for clothes.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of lingerie for $200,000. And she moves into the $5.5 million house. They have multiple properties all over San Diego, Hawaii, California. And by the way, that's not a weird remark. I think if you want to, you can wear whatever you want to wear. I was just saying $200,000 is an unthinkable amount to spend on clothing.
Yeah.
I'm expecting a house full of clothes. You get the house and the clothes. And they're living this life. She even posts on Facebook in Hawaii, making lunch in the kitchen. And you just see this massive rainbow across the island. But there are some things that even money cannot buy. Some things that you can't even pay someone to make you forget. Like your ex. Because 1,300 miles away from Valatar, the horse show, near Seattle, Washington, on a giant billboard taking up the eyeball real estate of a boring highway where there's really nothing to look at except for the exit signs and maybe a Chick-fil-A sign, maybe an In-N-Out sign. There's just a giant billboard of Tatiana, her blonde hair, next to her 2 beautiful horses. Valatar doesn't really have active plans to do shows in Seattle. They barely have shows in California. But the billboard is there because that is the road that Ken Wilcott, a very wealthy man, Ken is a real estate developer in Seattle, part owner of the NBA Sonics. He's worth close to $40 million. He lives in Seattle and he takes this highway every damn day to get to work. And he has to see his goddamn ex-wife blown up on the side of the road. He might be one of the few people that know a lot about Tatiana, and he's got to look at her every single day.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So she only did that on that one specific billboard in that city for her ex-husband to look at.
Yeah.
Is it to rub it on his face or okay?
Yeah, they had a very contentious divorce, and he seems like he is the only one that might know a lot about Tatiana. I mean, there's not a lot about her out there. There's so much of her out there, but really not a lot about her out there.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
This is like one of the craziest thing.
Her name is probably not even Tatiana. It's speculated that she was born Tanya. Tatiana's parents seem to have like a Russian fixation. Tatiana perhaps leaned into it. It seems like maybe they had some Russian heritage in their family line. I don't know. Her parents are just from Bend, Oregon. Tatiana was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's speculated she was Tanya. They never really went to Russia. They never grew up in Russia. Not saying that you have to grow up in Russia to be part of the Russian culture or to celebrate your Russian ancestry. It's just her parents are Vera and Brian, and she just leans into the Russian aesthetic really hard. And then she starts leaning out. I think that's where it gets interesting.
Leaning out as like her look or
Her look, the obsessions that she has. So when she was very into the Russian aesthetic, it was all about how you can be an equestrian in like the Russian way. So every different country has their own style of horse riding. So Russia has a very specific type, and they like specific horses that fit that aesthetic. And you have like the long blowing blonde hair, and then you wear like very swaying fabrics. It's like a very specific look. And then you have like the country girl horse, which is like you've got the tight jeans, you've got the boots, you've got the cowboy hat, also beautiful, but it's like a very different aesthetic.
Yeah.
So she just kind of picks and chooses, and some people speculate she picks and chooses depending on what she thinks the guy that she is dating will like.
I see.
So if the guy is like, I love me a cowgirl, she will be a cowgirl. If the guy is like, I love like that Eastern European...
Yeah.
You know, but I will say a mutual friend does say something very interesting. They say Tatiana is perhaps a persona that she made up, and maybe it came from childhood trauma. And she just like needs a character that she would become that wasn't tortured. I don't know, but I don't think any of it is real. So that's what the friend says about Tatiana being a character that she plays. Ken Wolcott, Tatiana's ex-husband, says her childhood was really rough. She grew up near Bend, Oregon, but in the rural area. She didn't have any social interactions really with anybody growing up. It sounds like her parents might have been involved in a religious group that might border the loosely defined word of a cult. She wasn't allowed to have traditional medicine or medical care. It's believed that her family fully rejected all forms of any life-saving medicines, any discomfort-alleviating medicines. The way Ken Wolcott saw it and the way he later describes it is he thinks a lot of Tatiana's emotional disruption comes from the fact that she was essentially held captive for 10 years by her parents. They didn't allow her to have any friends. She wasn't even enrolled in school after the 4th grade. Impressively, she got her GED, but it was just a rough life. Before marrying Ken Wolcott, Tatiana had a daughter with a separate guy. She marries Ken, has a son with him, and they are married for a total of 11 months. And short does not mean simple because their divorce is very, very messy. Ken alleges that Tatiana misused his finances. More specifically, he gave Tatiana a card to use to purchase clothes. She would buy the clothes with his credit card and then return the clothes and then ask for cash for the return instead of for returning it back to the card. Which I feel like that's impressive. And I feel like as a husband, you should support that because why are you okay with her spending the money on clothes unless she's spending the cash on something else? I don't know. You would think that a millionaire would be impressed by her financial ability to think ahead. But no, he's very upset. He also accused Tatiana of being inattentive to their son who was born with extra support needs. And that's when they separate. He says that he wasn't going to send her $9,000 a month to care for their son because she's using it fully on herself. She's not using it on their son. So he wants full custody of the son and he wants to stop paying her child support. He also just overall disagrees with the way that she's living her life. So ultimately, he ends up with full custody. But this is where things get interesting. And I think this is where lots of people have sympathy for Tatiana. All the guys in her life still like her to some degree because he continues paying child support, even though he has full custody, out of his own volition. It's not because the judge orders him to.
Okay.
So just keep this in mind.
Okay.
But some of Tatiana's friends say that she had a strong pattern of going after wealthy guys and then depending on them for her financial needs. But she also seems to have an energy that they seem to love. According to friends, the relationship between Mark and Tatiana Remley is interesting. Technically, on paper, Mark is the one with the power. He's got the substantial resources. But friends say he's like a dog, like a little puppy dog. He's obsessed with Tatiana. Whatever she wants, he's doing it, no questions asked. Mark seems so obsessed with Tatiana, even to the point where he still loves her no matter if they fail at their businesses, lose $20 million, if she frivolously spends money purchasing billboards for her ex-husband, if she goes to intimate parties and has intimate relations with other people in front of him, and even when she tries to have him killed. August 2nd, 2023, there is another chance encounter at Starbucks. Or at least that's what it feels like. It's a very casual meeting. A guy sitting on the patio with an iced drink. He's wearing a tank top and shorts. It's August, it's hot. And then you have a woman sitting there. At one point, he leans in, says something to the woman before getting up and walking into the Starbucks and entering the restroom. She leans back in her chair, waiting for him, and that is when 4 San Diego police officers pull up in 2 separate vehicles. Tatiana Remley, you are under arrest for trying to hire an undercover officer to kill your husband for $2 million.
What? 2 million? That's the highest we've ever heard, right?
Yeah, and it's not $2 million that she has. I mean, perhaps the worst part of all of this is that she would be using Mark Remley's money to kill Mark Remley, to get the rest of Mark Remley's money.
Do you know how she did it? Is it just like Googling and...
No, you're gonna... Well, I don't want to say that, but... You're going to laugh. She reached out. I mean, they're all like swingers. They're reaching out. They're doing things with each other. She reaches out to a mutual friend of them and is like, hey, can you kill my husband? He's like, let me think about it.
It's crazy.
Call San Diego Police Department.
Oh my God. It always happens like this too.
Yeah.
They're just like calling friends and calling someone so randomly.
I don't know who in their life knows anyone that would have any experience with a hitman.
Yeah. Okay, so the mutual friend just called the cops.
Called the cops and is like, I don't know what to do. Calls Mark and is like, hey, Mark, you better watch out.
Oh.
So then the cops are like, we know what to do. Tell her you know somebody who can do it. Undercover cop. They meet at a Starbucks. Something about Starbucks.
Did they record the body cams?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. And so he goes into the restroom. She gets arrested.
So, and you said the friend called Mark as well.
Yeah.
So Mark knew?
Yeah, and Mark actually dates her after she gets out of prison.
Oh.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how did we get here? How did she go from everything that they're doing to like all of a sudden attempt murder? Like,
oh yeah, let me tell you. There is a saying that if you want to live a financially stable life, you don't date someone who treats money like water. Because no matter how much you cup your hands, if you try to keep water in your hands, the money's going out. You're not going to be able to cup it. Obviously, this is not towards people who have reasonable bills to pay, and the cost of living is drastically higher than the wages that are being offered in the job market. This is for people that whenever they get extra disposable cash, they buy the most ridiculous thing that they don't even need. And it's not even just them spoiling themselves to feel good about this impending recession and doom and depression. It's like, why did you buy the 12th air fryer of the year? Like, you don't need 12 air fryers. Those are the types of people that it's going to be very difficult to live a financially responsible life. And that might be Tatiana. And Mark acted like he had unlimited water. After the $20 million fail that was Valatar, they open up Rhythm and Power, a cycling studio, like Soul Cycle. After a year being open, suddenly members get an email that they're going to have random improvements done in the store. So the store is going to close down. They recheck the website, everything is shut down. They go to the store. The studio had a staff of 5 people, and the full year that they were open, they only made $51,000. Then one day, Tatiana wakes up and she spontaneously decides that she's going to be the head of a women's polo team, which cost Mark $500,000 to get the whole team together. They have to buy horses. They have to invest in the team marketing, team shirts, team name, LLC rights. Yeah, and then they enter the San Diego Polo Club, and a few minutes into their very first match, Tatiana falls off the horse, breaks her arm, and quits polo.
Wow.
A mutual friend describes their relationship as he did whatever she did, Whatever she said, didn't matter if it was a good idea, bad idea, made no difference. I mean, he got drug around by her doing what she wanted with no real say in it. He just threw money at whatever it is she wanted to do. He was her dog. People also say that Tatiana has always been, quote, a control freak. She likes to push boundaries, push limits. She's an instigator, and her biggest aspirations were to be the Real Housewife of insert major city. That was her dream. And so after all of these business things, Mark Remley files for bankruptcy. And by the end of all of these failed business ventures, they decide that they are going to end their very tumultuous marriage. They are going to get a divorce. Mark Remley files for bankruptcy. They file for the divorce. And then Tatiana decides, I actually think I'm just going to kill him instead.
What's up? Where's that come from?
She was not getting enough financial support from him. And I think if he died, perhaps she thought there was still money left that would go to her.
You think it was a money motivation?
Yes, because even in the divorce filings, her lawyer complains about how she was living off of $50,000 a month as her allowance when they were married, and he's cutting it down to $12,000 to $15,000 a month, which is just like an unreasonable amount.
Wow.
So according to the divorce documents, Mark Remley had invested, he still has, I think this is like after the bankruptcy. I don't even know how this works, right? But he still had a portfolio worth about $8.6 million, a bank account with $400,000, and multiple multi-million-dollar properties, vehicles, jewelry, all amounting to be $8.2 million. And so with that, the shit-slinging divorce begins. Tatiana claims Mark was not only verbally and physically abusive, that he allegedly put a gun up to her head in front of another employee, and another time he chased her around the house with a knife. According to Tatiana's divorce filings, he stole property from her, he destroyed her property, he's mentally unstable, and after the massive financial colossal failure that was Valitar, he had a meltdown and he discharged one of his guns inside of their house, and he has cut her off financially, which seems to be like the most contentious point. Tatiana's attorney argues the wife is experiencing extreme financial strain. She is unable to maintain her realistic monthly expenses of just $12,000, much less than what she was accustomed to at $50,000. She has no income and does not have the same access to funds and assets that the respondent does. In the divorce, Tatiana is demanding $15,000 a month in spousal support and the use of the Del Mar home, the $5.5 million home, 2 trucks, a horse trailer, an ATV, and a few of their pets, including some parrots and some goats. She's like, this is what I want in the divorce. But this is what's weird. That's the house that burned down. It's not like fully burned down, but it's pretty wrecked. Why does she want that Del Mar house?
So the fire happened. I'm confusing with the time.
Yes. Okay. So all of their business failures happen.
Yep.
And then the fire happens. And then she very quickly is like, I'm going to hire someone to kill him. And
Wait,
all of this.
where's the gun and the ammos and all that came from? The girl with the gun and ammos.
Oh, yes. Okay. So all their failures happen. They decide that they're going to file for divorce. Then the house fire happens. Tatiana is there with a bunch of guns and ammunition. And now the fire department is investigating it for arson. And then she gets arrested for trying to hire a hit on her husband that they are in the process of divorcing right now.
Right. When the fire department came to the house, they got rid of the fire. What do you mean? Like she's standing in the house holding a gun?
She had them in her possession. And so it gets tricky later, but she does get arrested for this fire later. They don't arrest her that day. They arrest her way later.
They're just investigating what's going on. And then in their record, it's indicating that, she was in the house and she has possession of these firearms. I see.
And then they don't do anything about it. They just continue investigating. Now, the San Diego Police Department arrests her first for trying to hire a hit on her husband that she's in the middle of getting a divorce from. So all of this is happening. But the most disturbing allegation in the divorce comes out where Tatiana claims throughout their marriage, there has been lots of heinous things that Mark has done to her. But one of the most heinous is that Mark coordinated with his friend. Mark's friend breaks into the house, forces their way into the house, holds Tatiana at gunpoint and essays her while Mark is watching, and then cuts the head off of their horse statue and throws it on the bed. This is an accusation that comes out during the divorce proceedings. And so she's saying that horse head statue, that was Mark's doing because he called his friend to come essay me while he just laughed. He laughed and he watched, and then they cut my horse statue's head off and then put it in the bed like a threat from the movie Godfather, because there's like a scene, but I think it was a real horse head. I mean, a prop for the movie, but like supposed to be real. Again, another mutual friend of theirs does believe that this incident did take place, where someone did force their way into the house and essayed Tatiana. But he says, quote, I think she's the one who orchestrated it, not him. That was totally her. She was always the one trying to get people to do things with her. That was her thing. Mark, I can't imagine Mark. I'd be surprised if he has that many friends, but I can't really imagine Mark actually orchestrating that on his own.
This friend is saying this is something that she orchestrated as like a role play type of thing?
Yeah. I don't know if that's accurate. It just... See, that's why a lot of people have mixed feelings about Tatiana. And even if you take Mark out of the picture, is this somebody who is just very traumatized and is behaving very recklessly, but she is victim and perpetrator? Or some people are also like, yeah, but you probably wouldn't say that to a guy who tries to kill his wife. So it's just very complicated, but he believes that Tatiana is the one that orchestrated all of this, and she was always the one wanting to go to these clubs, wanting to do these types of things, wanting to get intimate with other people. That seems to be the assumption and what the mutual friends are saying. Mark has also claimed to a local news outlet that he believes that Tatiana was the one to burn their house down, and maybe that's not even the only time that she allegedly took measures to harm Mark. There were reports that the day before Tatiana was arrested, Mark had no idea that she was... I guess he knew, he had a heads up that she might try to kill him, but he didn't know what was happening because he ends up running to his neighbor's house, banging on the door, screaming that he's having a seizure. Neighbor said Mark looked horrendous. I mean, this guy is 57. He looked 77. That's how bad he looked. Neighbor calls the police. Mark is taken to the hospital.
When was this?
This is the day before she's arrested at that Starbucks. So some people think that she tried to poison him before and then she got arrested the next day. I don't know. That's all speculation, but this is just something happened the day before the arrest.
Before we go there,
Yes.
about the fire. You're saying the fire, people think she tried to kill him with the fire.
Yeah.
So it wasn't for insurance or
No.
anything else.
Yeah.
What?
And then she, in the divorce, wants to like stay in that house. And so people thought that was weird. So maybe there's some sort of evidence of arson that she thinks if she's in the house, she's allowed to be on the property, only she's allowed there, she could dispose of or get rid of or control the investigation in some way. Was the belief. And then the day before she's arrested, he's like running down the street screaming, I'm having a seizure, and he just looks so rough. That could be unrelated or it could be completely related. And then the next day, she gets arrested. December 18th, 2025. So this is after all of this.
This is a few months ago.
Yeah, this is after their divorce is finalized. This is after she gets out of prison for trying to kill her husband. Yeah, we're going to get into how much time she served. In the middle of San Diego's Little Italy neighborhood, outside of a bar, Tatiana Remley, who served her jail time for trying to get Mark killed, she's a free woman. And she is laying on the curb now with a gunshot wound to her head. She's dead. 2 years before her death, she had pled guilty to solicitation to commit murder and a firearm charge. She was initially facing 9 years in prison for the little Starbucks meetup and trying to kill Mark. However, she's ultimately sentenced to 4 years in prison, but she only ends up serving 1 year before being released. She gets out after 1 year, and when she gets out, she dates Mark here and there, starts dating other guys, and there are a few changes in her life. She kind of starts leaning more into that country girl scene, and she starts posting really intense things on Facebook about how life is about what you make it, and quote, maturity is when you have the power to destroy someone who did you wrong, but you just breathe, walk away, and let life take care of them. Which some people think maybe there was a lot of trauma that she endured in previous relationships. Like, it just, no one really can understand what happened. Like, it's hard to pinpoint directly if she is a victim turned perpetrator or if she's just a straight perpetrator all the way through. So she switches from like the more Russian-centered equestrian aesthetic to country girl, horses, bikes, trailers, snakes, like that kind of vibe. She posts quotes like, everybody wants to be a country girl until the hay wagon rolls up and it's time to start stacking. And a lot of netizens are just confused at the time. Like, how did she only get 1 year for arranging to kill her husband? And they all commented, California judges are insane. Which I would have to agree with that sentiment, because court documents state that Tatiana was very thorough about how she wanted Mark to be decapitated, how she wanted his body to be disposed of, how she had all this cash saved up. I mean, she had a substantial amount of cash that they found on her, which was probably Mark's cash.
How much?
They just said substantial amount. And she had 3 loaded firearms that were not registered to her name. And maybe she received leniency for how dumb she was in her plot to kill. I mean, no one knows why she just served a year. Nobody knows.
Huh.
But after her release, she did see Mark on and off again until December of 2018. Well, actually, September of 2025, she gets arrested once more. This time for arson for that Del Mar fire in their $5.5 million house. She's actually awaiting trial. She pled not guilty. So she gets arrested in September of 2025. December of 2025, she's out in Little Italy. She FaceTimes Mark, her ex-husband, in the bathroom of a bar. And she's complaining about the guy that she's with. And he's like, well, if you're really uncomfortable, I can call 911 for you. And she's like, no, I got it. Like, it's under control. It's going to be fine. She walks out of the bar and she takes out the gun from her purse, fires it once outside in the air, and then the second shot, she passes away.
What?
Yes, it's very public.
So it was like it's in front of a store?
It's just like in the middle of Little Italy. There were a few witnesses who saw and witnessed the whole thing. And usually when people do things like that in public, it's like a last cry for help. It's almost like a lot of psychologists have said, it's like, do you see how much pain I'm in? And I will say that she was high risk for this type of incident, considering she was facing substantial social, legal, financial repercussions in life. But I don't know. I think it's really hard to say. I think people have very strange mixed feelings for Tatiana. I think given the fact that Mark dated her after she got out of prison, her ex-husband Ken Woolcott continued to pay child support even when she didn't have the child for at least an extended period of time out of his own free will. It seems like maybe people close to Tatiana saw something that we probably don't see. Maybe she did have a very unstable childhood and they could see her instability seeping through, but ultimately they thought she was a good person. I don't know. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, but she died 10 days after her 44th birthday. But some other people think maybe there's actually something worse happening, because there is an unanswered question in all of this. Tatiana's friend, Cheryl, mysteriously died around the time their house caught on fire. And there have been rumors in their circle that Tatiana could be involved. Tatiana claimed that her ex-husband, Mark, was trying to falsely implicate her in her friend Cheryl's suspected murder, but she was due back in court for the arson charge March 3rd of 2026. But she is
What happened to Cheryl?
No one knows. I try to look into it. There's not much written about her. There's like barely, yeah.
Wow.
And now the question is, I guess, who killed Cheryl? Was Tatiana a victim and a perpetrator, or just a perpetrator, or does it even really matter?
And what happened? Did Mark make any statements after this?
No, people think he's in Hawaii. His friend says that's where Mark goes when he runs away, to his house in Hawaii. Yeah.
Wow. And ex-husband, nothing? No. Wow.
What are your thoughts? This was a very bizarre case.
Oh, wow. I mean, I feel like there are just so much more behind closed doors. Even like what we see from the outside is insane.
Yeah.
Right? Their lifestyle already insane. So you can only imagine what's more that's not disclosed.
And then obviously there's questions of course, all of their mutual friends are saying that Tatiana is the one that wanted the lifestyle. But I guess some netizens are also confused of maybe she got into the lifestyle and then was pressured to do things she didn't want to do, or things happened and that led to her wanting people dead. Is that an excuse? No, but I guess there's just so many unanswered questions because it just got so unhinged.
Yeah.
So quickly in a way that doesn't necessarily make sense. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.